Hey. Hello, everybody. Hi, my name is Dr. Jo White, clinical psychologist, advanced certified schema therapist and supervisor. And I'm really pleased to be here today with Christof to talk to us about schema therapy with children and adolescents. So, Christof, would you like to introduce yourself for us?
Yes, thanks so much, Joe, for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Christof. I'm a psychologist and a CBT therapist for children and adolescents and their parents. And yeah, I'm based in Germany, in Düsseldorf. And yeah, I'm quite happy to be part of a group who developed a schema therapy for children and adolescents approach. And I'm happy to share with you some ideas.
Great. Thank you so much for giving us some time. I know lots of people are always asking me about schema therapy for children and adolescents, and I don't know much about the approach at all. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your answers. And I know lots of people in the Facebook group will be really happy to hear what you've got to share with us. So thank you so much for coming in and giving us some time. So I've got some questions that we're going to work through. And we'll see how we get on. So, okay. So first off, Christof, could you just give us an overview of schema therapy for children and adolescents, please?
Yeah. So it really depends on the age of our clients. So we treat children from 4 years till 18 or 21, 25. It really depends. And actually, our main goal is to support the children to get to know their needs and how to express them. But children, of course, are highly dependent on their parents. So we also support the parents to understand their children, what they need. And beside that, also parents have needs. And this is actually the system we approach. So we want to help the children, but also to support the parents to understand their own schemas, their own dysfunctional modes in upbringing their children. And so we enter the system, family, so to speak. And yeah, it really depends on the age, what exactly or how we approach. So, yeah. For example,
if you're thinking about the younger age group, what might it look like?
So actually, we have this group of, let's say, kindergarten kids, where we used to play a lot. So we don't explain so much to the children. We just have these huge puppets, and the puppets are representing modes. So we play the puppet, demonstrating or representing the mode, and involve the child to talk to the puppets, to the modes in a way what we find appropriate. So this is actually the kindergarten kids. So most clients are school kids, actually 6-7 years and older. And here we actually want to engage them, or want to create an understanding in them. Of course, not too difficult, but we want to give some insight of the mode model. And we used to do that with finger puppets, for example. So the finger puppets are representing different modes. And yeah, we're playing a lot. And with teenager, we used to have some other material, for example, mode cards, or we also use chairs, chair work. And here again, age appropriate, we've tried to find a way that they become expert of their own inner stage. And that in a playful manner, actually. So we try to play a lot and to visualize a lot. So not so much talking, more discovering actually what's going on. So we accompany them to find out what's going on their inner stage, what needs do they have, which emotions pop up, and finally also which modes pop up. And yeah, this is actually the way how we try to make them feel competent or also part of the process. Not telling them what's right, what's wrong, but helping them to understand what they need.
Right. And so what would you say are the sort of overall aims of schema therapy for children and adolescents? Is it kind of similar to schema therapy for adults, or the aims a little bit different?
Well, in general, actually, we want to make them understand what do they need and how can they get what they need. But in general, we must say that children are still young, and when we think of schemas, we actually think of schema dispositions. So we have the idea that the child is still in development, and depending on how well the caregivers can take care of them, we can help them not to build up maladaptive schemas. So we try to prevent actually the schema development and help the parents to understand their own wounds, what they often have from their own childhood, so that they are not triggered by the mal behavior or by the problematic behavior of the children, that they also understand what's happening with me as a mother or father when my child is, for example, not obeying or showing some problematic behavior. So actually we have these two groups. So the child is important, but often the parents are also involved, and really important to learn and coach their own schemas.
It's so important, isn't it, to be able to work with the parents in the system, because children have relatively little control a lot of the time over their circumstances. And so you talked about groups. Do you offer schema therapy for children and adolescents in a group format, or is it always individually with children and individually with parents? How does it work in that way?
In most cases, it's individual. So we are working on the concepts of group schema therapy for children and adolescents, but it's still in development. Actually, most experience we have with single sessions with a child or with a parent. So they are parallel, and in the end, they come together. We have family session and we have family needs. We talk about what does everyone need to feel good or safe or understood. And so, but before we enter the family group, let's say father, mother, and siblings, and so on, we actually try to help the child or the teenager to understand their own needs, their own vulnerable child. And we call it also the clever and wise mode. So this is a healthy adult in childhood. And so how to encourage the clever and wise mode to find good solutions for the inner team. And so this is something what we do with a child, usually in a single session without parents, usually. And the parents are also needy and need some support, and we also try to help them to foster their caring and guidance mode. Caring and guidance mode. This is actually the mode, again, the healthy adult mode in upbringing issues. So what does this mode need? It needs to learn to take care, but also to guide the child in difficult moments. That is what children need, and parents sometimes have to learn how to be respectful, but also clear and guiding. So usually we have these separate sessions.
Okay, so I spot a different mode. Sounds like for the parents, developing this caring and guidance mode, how to be a good parent to their child, and a wise and clever mode. Did you say for?
Clever and wise, or wise mode. Yes, This is actually how we call that for clients, no matter how old they are. So the problem is we cannot ask the child to go in his healthy adult, because it's not an adult and would be actually not appropriate. So we have good experience with clever and wise, or the wise mode. This is also, children can be very wise.
Yeah, I like that. And so when you're educating children about modes, do you have a particular set of modes that you focus on, or do you tailor it to the child?
So usually we have a kind of mode sketch, what we do first. So this is where we just sketch the most important modes. And the most important modes, we start with positive modes. So we ask the child for the happy mode and for the clever and wise mode. And what we also apply is to ask for resources. So anything what the child is an expert in. Can be anything. Could be, for example, a musician, or maybe someone loves to cook, or someone loves nature, or is good in football playing, or is a PlayStation master, or whatever. So we try to bring in the positive sides or resources of the child, and we are very generous in providing them with a mode. So we, for example, say this is a PlayStation mode. If the child feels this is an important part of me. Or this is my dog lover, or this is my whatever creative mode, or my. So this is actually the competence team, what we focus a lot on. So happy, clever, and the resource modes. So these are usually a group of 4 or 5 modes. And on the other side, we have these modes. Typically, the sad mode, which is representing the vulnerable child. So the questions when you are sad or feel alone. And we also integrate the angry, frustrated mode. What makes you angry? And we often also have the inner critic. We ask for, is there, sometimes you are really strict with yourself or blaming, where there's nothing to blame, and so this is the inner critic, punitive mode. And then we used to have a symptom mode. So one mode was producing the problematic behavior. So these are more or less our guideline, what we want to suggest to the child. And yeah, we try to get an okay and ask the child, could you tell me 1 or 2 examples when this mode pops up? And our attitude is very friendly, very open, so non-judging. So we are curious, and we actually try to point out the great richness of this multiplicity, so of different sides. So this is a richness. It's wonderful that you all have this side. So creating a non-pathological personality model. This is our goal. So not a disturbance or psychopathological model. So we want to create a personality model. And against this background, the children or teenagers are more open to talk about different sides, and are also fine with integrating a problem mode or an especially interested mode who's producing the behavior, what other people find problematic. So this is actually the preliminary work, and then we bring in our material. Then we have for every mode that we have sketched, let's say a finger puppet, for example. The finger puppet could be, for example, I don't know if you can see that. Let's say this is maybe my angry, frustrated mode. So what we usually do is, let's say we place that mode on the table, and then we come in with our therapy. Therapeutic puppet. So this is in this case me. So, and this is little Chris. Chris is really curious. So he would love to talk to him. Is that possible that I can ask for permission? And we go on the play level. Then we go on the play level, and then little Chris is talking to the angry and frustrated mode. And I ask the child, could you play this one? So, and then I'm actually playing, or we let the puppets talk about when do you come out, and so on. A lot of appreciation, curiosity, and just getting to know each other. So this would be one example how we try with children to get in the meta level. So the child is on co-expert level, so we are like a reflecting team. And the real child and me looking on the puppets. And the puppets have needs, they have emotions. So how can we help the puppets to get what they deserve to get? So the child is not in the focus. It's not our patient. The child is our co-expert. And that is what children usually like, that they are not in the focus, and that they are partners of learning more about a certain phenomenon or a certain problem, whatever. That should be fun, and most children like that, actually. Also therapists, by the way, they also like when the children are more relaxed and not so under pressure.
I love that little demonstration. It was making me think about a conversation I could have with my son and how we can end up getting stuck in thinking about the anger as part of him and just that externalization, how powerful that is.
You learn much more while playing instead of serious conversation. So this is adult talk, or adult actually. So this is not the way to talk with children about things. So children wants to play, and this is what we offer.
Great. And so you talked about sort of the inner team.
Yes.
And so is there, sounds like you're kind of shifting towards how does the inner team get what you need?
Exactly. So we try to find out how is this team functioning. So they are different, and we get to know each mode and would like to understand who's the boss, who's the underdog, who likes whom here, and how does it function? So how do the players or the modes come out in difficult situations? So we actually try to understand against different situations, how is this team functioning? And what we want to help the client is the child to understand, is that fair, what's going on here? Is that actually, or is there someone who's really like a bossy mode, who's always over-regulating or determining what happened, and others are ashamed and they don't feel afraid of talking about how they feel? So we want a fair team, and we need a leader. Every team needs a leader. And this is actually part of the clever and wise mode. He's a boss, he's a leader of the group, and we try to help to get back in power, because sometimes the problem mode is in the boss chair and he's saying that I'm doing this. And actually we want to strengthen or to foster the clever and wise mode to be a good leader, a good team leader. And that's not easy. As we know also from the adult, every team needs a leader, but it's not so easy to guide a team in a fair, respectful way. Yeah, that is actually the playful challenge what we are facing. Well, my co-expert and I try to find a good way how to deal with, for example, inner punitive modes, or how to protect the vulnerable, the sad mode, and so on.
Yeah. It sort of reminds me of laying out a mode map on chairs.
Yes.
But adding an extra layer of playfulness with the puppets, and
exactly.
You know, the way that we get our clients to sort of observe what's going on internally for them. Yeah, great.
So the nice thing is that we discover together that the therapist is not the professor who knows everything. No, we are actually on the same level, and we try to detect. Of course, I have some ideas, but the child is an expert as well. And this is actually what children like, when we are not too quick. We are just questioning, we are talking about ourselves. So we give some impulses in a certain direction, but we are very cautious in telling the children what's right, what's wrong, because they know it, and maybe they are oversensitive to adults who tell them what's right, what's wrong. Usually they have experienced that a lot, and it was not always helpful. So the boss is the child, and here we support the clever and wise mode of the child.
And so how do you then help to bring the parent alongside that process too?
Yes, the parents have actually quite other challenges actually. So they don't know how to deal with my child when it is so demanding or so aggressive and so on. So what we often find, I have some other material. What we often find is a parent actually, when we compare it here with the whole, that they are fighting with their children actually. So in a way they love each other, but in certain moments they actually don't understand each other, and they don't know what to do. The parents are puzzled. And what we try now to work out with a parent is actually to get in contact with their own inner child. So this is represented here. You can see the little one and the big one. The difference is in this part, the parent is just, I don't know, grown up, serious, and tries his best. But there's so much, it's so important to get contact to the own inner child, because the inner child is a perfect bridge actually to understand the real child. So a mother or father who's in contact with their own childhood, with their own vulnerable child, has a much better chance to reach and to understand their real children. So in a way, we can say schema coaching for parents, what we say is actually getting from this state into this state. What we often find is that when we ask the mother or father, how did you feel in your childhood? What was good? What was you missing? And we often find that the mother or father explains something, some need frustration, what the real child probably also would say. For example, let's say respect or emotional warmth. Let's say the mother would say, I miss that in my mother. She was so cold. And often parents are struggling with the same need as the children. And that's a wonderful way actually to work out with the parents that actually there's a repetition or a transgenerational pattern going on, that they are still working on the same need, on the same feeling, being not seen or not whatever, appreciated. So this is actually what we want to help parents to get in contact with their own inner child in order to better understand their real child.
Yeah, I love that. And so is the same therapist working with the child and the parent?
Yeah, usually yes. I know some people would say this is tricky because they understand the therapist as a lawyer of the child needs. And we would say the schema therapist is a lawyer of the needs, the emotional needs. And the child has needs, but also the parents have also needs, of course. And insofar, there's no contradiction to help the child take care of their needs, but also to help the parents. Because in the end, we want to bring them back. We want to reconnect them on a need level. And that's why there's usually no contradiction where we help parents to find what's inside, what are the whatever schemas or the things where they feel hurt. And at the same time to help the child to better understand what can I do when I feel sad or anxious or angry. So usually it's the same therapist, but I also need to add, when we work with young adults or teenagers, let's say 15, 16 years and older, we are very cautious to spend too much time with the adult because they might feel we are a prolonged arm of the parents. So then we have to clarify with the parents if they have upbringing issues or whatever. Then we cannot really help them to discipline their 16, 17-year-old teenager because we would lose the teenager when we tell the parents how to punish them. But usually, actually, it works quite well when we make it open. So we want to help the child, but also the parents, because they belong together. And this is our goal, to reconnect them again.
And so the parent sort of becomes another member of the team to support
yes,
the
we
child.
also have good parental side. So the caring parent is also part of the competence team of the child. Because parents are not always criticizing and punishing. They have done thousand good things. So, and we try to also bring in the good mother or the good father. What would she tell you in this moment? Provided there are some good mother or good father features. It now depends on the child. But in most children, they also have really good moments with their father and mother. So both is true. They are maybe criticizing, punitive, but also in another sense supportive and caring. It depends again on the age, how differentiated you can enter this complex figure of mother or father.
It sounds like a lot to hold on to for the therapist to be holding on to the child's internal team, the parent and some of their struggles. And you clearly work incredibly hard to hold that system.
Yeah, we must be very flexible because the age is an important factor, but also, of course, how's the relationship in general. So we don't have just one client, we have a system what we have to take care of. And this makes it sometimes tricky to focus what is the most important thing. Let's say the mother is needy, the father is in another way needy, the child needs to have the siblings, the whole family is struggling. So where to focus first? And this is sometimes a difficult question. But yeah, this is actually what all child and adolescent therapists have to do. So.
Yeah, go step by step and work out, okay, we'll try here, but then maybe have to reverse and try something different. Yeah. And so it sounds like you've given us a good demonstration of an alternative to chair work with the puppets. Do you use imagery work within?
Yes, we also use imagery, though we prefer in general to be in contact with the client. So look face to face and we are playing, so we can better estimate how does a child feel. So if we do pure imagery, we might oversee that the child is dissociated or is somehow not feeling well when it's so silent. So in general, we prefer to do chair work or playing or whatever, something interactive. Then we have a better chance to see at any time how does a child feel and what would he need. Insofar, we have imagery for positive things. So for example, a fantasy trip to the clever and wise mode. This is typically an imagery what we do with them. This is a positive imagery where the child in the imagery encounters his own clever and wise mode, and they start to create a wonderful relationship. So, but we also have these bad memories where the child is wounded or overseen or neglected or misused. And what we used to play is actually we have this inner house. Inner house is a playful technique where we use puppets and enter the field of what the child has experienced. So there are 3 layers, and at the top are the modes, and at the bottom of this inner house is the experience level. So we actually try to visualize how is my mode team affected by my experiences. And we can change the experiences. So whatever happened in the past, we will try to play that to a certain extent, and then we replay. So we do a kind of replaying, imagery replaying. So we pretending that this would have happened, and what an effect does it have on the mode level, then on the schema level. It's a bit complicated to tell about, but what I want to say is we also have an alternative to the classical imagery with scripting, that we have an imagery replaying. And the idea is the same, that we simply open a second track and this is what you have deserved. And yeah, so a kind of redemption, emotional redemption, finally.
That makes sense. And I was thinking about how easy children find it to use their imagination and recreate things without their eyes closed.
Yeah, usually they don't like so much to close the eyes. It's not necessary because we have lots of play material, and we try really to use our material to make a playful, lively game out of it. So it's quite different to classical CBT approach where you talk a lot. So we play a lot and we try to visualize. This is maybe one of the main differences. So not so abstract talking, just to, for example, I don't know if you know the Color Monster book. Color Monster book is, you know, a monster which is quite confused. Wonderful story, but in the end, for example, we play with these puppets actually. So this is a blue puppet, blue monster, feels blue. And what can we say? So if you, Joe, would be my client, I would encourage you, my God, it's so sad. Joe, what could we say to her? So I feel so sorry for you. If you don't find words, I would suggest something. Oh, I'm so glad you are here. And so I'm playing a little bit and try to engage the client. Come on, let's help him. Let's help him. Yeah, wonderful. So there's a lot of interaction. This is actually more age appropriate as an abstract imagery of something. But
yeah, great ideas. Lovely. And so how do people train in schema therapy for children and adolescents if they would like to?
So some people have already knowledge in schema therapy. For example, they have attended workshops for adults. We have a different track because we have so many different techniques. And this is a training of 8 days, 8 teaching units per day, so 64. So usually 4 workshops of 2 days each, 8 days. Yeah, and yeah, interested people can register for it. For example, in Cologne, or they can go on my website. I have listed the different locations or training centers where I'm engaged. And yeah, usually it's online, but in some places I'm also in person.
So you were saying in September the training in Cologne is online and run in English?
Exactly. We have an international group where people from all over the world is coming. I'm just sharing here. This is the Institute of Schema Therapy in Köln and Cologne. And here you have actually a section for online learning, International Learning Hub. And here, for example, you can see the different lectures or training. And the next one is in August, I see, the 14th of August. So, for example. So this is actually one way to inform yourself what can we do, or how can we learn more. Or we also have here this book, Schema Therapy for Children. Just let me see. Oh no, this is not. Right. So if people are interested and not sure if they want to book how to register. They might have a look in the book. This is this one here, Schema Therapy for Children. So, and if you're interested in that, here are the chapters. Please send me an email and I could send you a chapter here, number 2. This is just free for colleagues who are interested. And yeah, then send me an email and I send you back some chapter. That would be actually the best way to inform yourself to find a decision if you want to register or not.
Right. Okay. So there's a few different options online for online learning and the book. And you're saying if people are interested, then you've got a free chapter that they could email you to access if they'd like to see whether to buy the book or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge. I always love the little experiential exercises that come into these interviews to give a real flavour of the model. So I appreciate you bringing along some tools to be able to demonstrate that for us. And I will add the links to your website and your email address as well, so people can contact you and see where the training is running. So thank you again so much for coming and giving us some of your time.
Thanks so much, Joe. It was a pleasure. It was an honor to be with you. Yeah.
It's great. And thank you, everybody. And we'll see you again soon. Okay.